Hopefully this is working. Is it? It is, I believe. Okay. So, sorry I was late. I was discussing biblical Hebrew with somebody, and which made me forget. Okay. So, we are on Genesis chapter 26. Okay. Uh, there was a famine in the land besides the first famine that was, excuse me, in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. Now, there was a famine in the land besides the previous famine in Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. And there was a famine in the land aside from the first famine that had been in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Avimelech, the king of the Philistines, to Gerar. Vayehi ra'av ba'aretz milvad hara'av harishon asher haya b'yamei Avraham vayelech Yitzchak el Avimelech melech Plishtim Gerara. Okay, so Vayehi a billion times, many times. Ra'av, right? So the root resh ayin bet means hunger or famine. Ba'aretz, in the land, and what we say is that anytime we speak about the land, we are talking about the land of Israel. So there is an article there in the vocalizations. So it's ba'aretz, not be'aretz, or be'eretz. Okay, milvad, so other than, right? Milvad. Hara'av, the famine. Harishon, the first, the first famine, and this is the rishon. There is an adjective, and the way you know that is because there is an article both on the noun, which is the first term, and the second term, right? If we were talking about a construct here, then the article would only show up in the last verb, in last term in the construct chain. Um, okay. Asher haya beyameh, which was beyameh in the days of, so that's smichut, uh, in the days of Abraham. Don't freeze up on me. Okay. In the days of Abraham. Vayelech. So this is, it's an imperfect. It's being flipped, right? Yitzchak. El is preposition with the aleph. Avimelech, melech plishtim. So this is a construct of melech and plishtim, right? So the king of the Philistines, plishtim, Gerara, and that hey at the end is not the feminine singular, it is the directional hey, so towards Gerar. Okay, next verse. Then the Lord appeared to him and said, do not go down to Egypt, live in the land of which I shall tell you. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, do not go down to Egypt, live in the land where I tell you to live. And the Lord appeared to him and said, do not go down to Egypt, dwell in the land that I will tell you. So Vayera, and so um, you can only know this from the vocalizations, right? So it's the nifal, it's the passive of resh aleph hey to um, see, right? So and appeared, was seen, right? Elav again, preposition with the aleph. Havaya, that's the tetragrammaton. Vayomer, and he said, Al tered. So al is one of the ways we say no in Hebrew. Al or lo. Tered. So the um, root here is the same as Jordan, Yered, right? Which means to go down. Yud Resh Daled. So don't go down. And so, in anytime we're talking about the land of Israel, we say ale, right, to go up. And anytime we are speaking about hey, anytime we are speaking about um, going to Egypt, we will say go down, right? Egypt is constantly referred to as down. Mitzrayma, right? Towards Mitzrayim. Again, that's the directional hey at the end there. Shechon. So the root is shin chaf nun, which means to dwell, right? That's where the word shechina comes from, right? Which is how we refer to the Holy Spirit of God in the Hebrew. Or a shachen is a neighbor. And this is in the command form, shechon. Ba'aretz, in the land, asher omar elecha, which I say to you. And again, this is the preposition with aleph. Okay, next verse. Dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. Um, Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. God, sojourn in this land, um, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. For to you and to your seed will I give all these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to you, to Abraham, your father. Uh, and Rashi is saying, so there's a curious word here, uh, ha'el as opposed to ele, and he's saying it's the same thing. It just doesn't have the ele there. Okay, so gur, the root is gimel vav resh, which so a ger is actually a convert. So when we talk about ger toshav, that's a person who comes to live in the land of Israel who is not a Jew. Um, that's a ger toshav, and the word gur oftentimes gets translated as sojourn. It's a temporary living there. So gur, and it's in the command form. Ba'ar, it's in the land. Hazot, this specific land. Ve'ehyeh, and I will be, right? So that's it. It doesn't have to refer to God, but that is a kind of um, it's a sort of conjugation of the holy name. Imcha, I will be with you. Right? Imcha, and this is in the it's in the singular you. Ve'avarechecha cheka, and I will bless you. The root is bet resh chaf, which means to bless. It is related to ni. Ki, because, or for, lecha ulezaracha, for you and to your descendants or your seed. It is in the singular as seed always is, pretty much. Eten et kol ha'aratzot. I will give um, all the lands. Kol ha'aratzot. And aratzot, a little bit curiously, is written bechisaron. There's no vav there. All the lands, right? Ha'el. So, okay. I guess you could make an argument that ha'aratzot ha'el might be referring to the lands of God. I would disagree with you, partially because of that article on Aratzot. So it's this is not a construct chain. Rashi just says that what this really means is ha'ele, and apparently they also, well, eh. Well, I guess I mean Genesis 19:8, la'anashim ha'el, also these people, um, et ha'arim ha'el, these cities. Yeah, I mean it is. I think, yeah, yeah. Um, I'm just kind of surprised that they're saying that this is kind of like the not that L, but like um, the L as in the preposition with the aleph. Uh, is that what they're saying? So see, this actually makes more sense to me. Although there in Ezra 5:15 there is a difference between the kativ and the so they're saying it's related to this preposition with the aleph, root 413. Guessing, kind of yes, kind of no. I mean, we won't spend too much time on it. Okay, the Hakimoti. Now this I am very surprised at how bechisaron it is, because I would have expected both a yud and a vav there. This is the hefil. It is the causative of lakum, kuf, vav, mem, which means to get up, right? But this is causative to establish is usually how it gets, or confirm, yeah. Or it's kind of when we talk about lahakim hashvua, right? A shvua is an oath, shin bet ayin, and basically it says I will kind of pay, kind of, but yeah, I will confirm. I will do what I said, basically. And hashvua, um, not strange that it's with a kubutz instead of a shuruk. Asher nishpati, which I so this is the nifal. It's the of to swear of shin bet ayin. So it's the passive, which I swore I was sworn to. I guess is really what it is. La Abraham avicha, to Abraham your father. Next verse. And I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. And this is actually the verse where we get the idea that converts are always referred to. So if you convert to Judaism, you get to pick your name, but your Jewish name, by which you people pray for you or you go up to the Torah, that is your name. For example, my name is Yaakov. My father's name is Chaviv, his Hebrew name. So I am Yaakov ben Chaviv. But somebody who converts to Judaism would be referred to as Yaakov ben Avraham Avinu, right? The patriarch Abraham, or just Yaakov ben Avraham. And Sarah, if ever his mother's name is necessary. Okay. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed all the nations. Yeah. Okay. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands, and through your offspring or seed, all nations on the earth will be blessed, or all nations on earth will use the name of your offspring in blessings. Okay. And I will multiply your seeds like the stars of the heavens, and I will give your seed all these lands, and all the nations of the earth will bless themselves by your seed. Yeah. Not gonna do all the Rashi. Okay. Vehirbeti et zaracha kochvei hashamayim venatati lezaracha et kol ha'aratzot ha'el vehitbaruchu bezaracha kol goyei ha'aretz. Okay, vehirbeti, the root is reshbet hey rabbah. Yeah, reshbet hey, many or great, and it's in the hefil, it's in the causative, right? Uh, and I will cause to be great, I will multiply. Et zaracha, your seed, kechochvei hashamayim, and so kochav means a star, and kochavim means stars, and the construct form of kochavim is kochvei, and that's how it became kochvei hashamayim. Venatati lezaracha. So it's a construct chain, and as normal, there's only an article on the last term of the chain. Venatati lezaracha, and I will give to your descendants at kol ha'aratzot, all these lands, ha'el, exactly like we had in the previous one, and again, aratzot is written without a vav. Vehit baruchu. Now this is interesting. The blessed is in the reflexive, so will bless themselves. And I'm guessing that's what Rashi talks about. Yeah, hit baruchu, right? So this is in the reflexive, which is very interesting. Bezaracha, with your seed, kol goye haaretz. So again, goye is in the construct form with the land, right? All the nations of the land. Yeah. So that is a very interesting thing. Vehit baruchu bazaracha. Okay, I'm gonna do the Rashi. A man tells his son, "May your children be like the children of Isaac." And the same in all of Scripture. And the following is the archetype of all. So 48 to 20. So actually, they were going off Rashi when they said that. Through you shall Israel bless, saying, may God see you as Ephraim and Menashe. Regarding curses in Numbers 5:27. Similarly, Isaiah 65:15. Yeah, so that's where they got their note, I guess. Okay, 26:5. And I will make your descendants 5. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Because Abraham obeyed me and did everything I required of him, keeping my commandments and my decrees and my instructions. Chabad. Because Abraham hearkened to my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my instructions. Interesting. Okay. Ekev. So this is interesting. Ekev is actually the root of the name Jacob. It means heel, Ekev. And Ekev Tishmeun, because you listen to me. So it is used as a result or because I, I would probably translate this as a result of. How did Chabad do it? Because, yeah, I mean, that's what it means. Asher Shama, so Ekev Asher Shama, because that obeyed. Shama literally means to listen. That's why they translate it as hearken, like Shema Israel, right? But this isn't a perfect. It's not. Shema um, is the command form. Shama is the perfect listen. Abraham Bekoli, to my voice, in my voice. Yeah. And kol is oftentimes written without above, although it's oftentimes written with above as well. Vayishmor, again, kind of expected above there, but shin memresh means to keep, and there is that repetition there. Yishmor mishmarti. So mishmar is a charge. A mishmar is, yeah, I guess charge is the word for it. Um, Kind of like rounds, to keep a, a guard over. You know what I mean? Um, it comes obviously from the root to guard or to keep. So mishmarti, my charge. Charge is fine. Mitzvotai, my commandments. Hukotai, vetorotai. Um, so, first of all, uh, Torot is written with one vav. I mean, it's not a. We don't. We don't often see Torot. Torah is the singular. So, like I've said before, usually we um, refer to 3 classes of um, commandments. There are what are referred to as um, hukim, mishpatim, and either otot or mitzvot. Um, Hukim are those things which we don't really understand. Mishpatim, so it's usually translated as statutes, and here it is, hukotai, my statutes. Mishpatim, which are my, uh, usually we translate as judgments, comes from the root shin he tet, yeah, which means judge, as in Shoftim, the book of Judges. And then either we call them mitzvot, which literally means to connect, but usually gets translated as commandments, or eduyot, which are, or otot, meaning witnesses or signs. And those are the mitzvot that are given to Israel as a witness or a sign or something differentiating us as a mamlechet kohanim, as a priestly nation. So as kind of evidence that we belong to God. And so even though I said I was not going to do the Rashi's explaining why these are four different things. So Mishparti decrees to distance himself from transgressing the warnings in the Torah, secondary prohibitions, and the rabbinic decrees. So Mishmarti, Rashi's saying that these are even going beyond, right, what the actual mitzvot are. So mitzvot, referring to things which, had they not been written, would have been fit to, so like we say about mishpatim, right? So things that through our judgment we can understand. So he's translating mitzvot as kind of mishpatim, like theft and murder. Hukot, referring to things that the evil inclination and the nations of the world argue against, such as eating pork and wearing garments of wool and linen, for which no reason is given, but which are the decree of the king and his statutes over his subjects. So like I said, these are things which we don't understand. She'in ta'am bedvar. There is no reasonable understanding. And Torotai, he's saying it's apparently from the Talmud Yoma 28b, that this is the oral law. So yeah. Okay. Keep on going. Verse 20 over verse 6. So Isaac dwelt in Gerar. So Isaac stayed in Gerar. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. Vayeshev Yitzchak beGerar. So the root here is shuv. No, yud shin bet. To dwell, yishuv, right? Remain. Again, this gets into kind of the whole argument about whether or not there are two-letter roots, which I believe that there are two-letter roots in Hebrew. There is a consensus that there are three-letter roots, but there's an argument whether there are two-letter roots in Hebrew. Okay. Or two radical roots. Yitzchak beGerar. So he lived in Gerar. Pretty simple stuff. Okay, verse 7. And the men of the place asked about his wife, and he said, she is my sister, for he was afraid to say, she is my wife, because he thought, lest the men of the place kill me for Rebekah, because she is beautiful to behold. And this is a repeat of something that happened to Abraham. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, she is my sister, because he was afraid to say, she is my wife. He thought the men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful. And the men of the place asked about his wife, and he said, she is my sister, because he was afraid to say, she is my wife, because he said, lest the men of the place kill me, because of Rebecca, for she is of comely appearance. Uh, Vayishalu anshe hamakom leishto, vayomer achoti hi, ki yare leemor ishti pen yaharguni anshe hamakom al Rivka ki tovat mar'eh hi. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, ve'yishalu. So the root is shin aleph lamed, which means to ask, right? Shoel. So and asked, because it's being flipped by the vav. Anshe hamakom. So anashim means people, right? Um, enosh or anash or ish means man, and anashim is plural, and it's in the construct form with the place hamakom. Leishto, about his wife, right? That prepositional lamed there, about his wife. Vayomer, and he said, Achoti he, right? So Achot means sister, usually written with a vav, but my sister, and the pronoun is being used as as the verb to be. That's sometimes done in biblical Hebrew. Now, generally in the Torah, he and who are spelled hey vav aleph almost always, and the only way you know which one it is based on the cantillation. In this verse, the second one is actually written with a yud, right? He, which is, I mean, in modern Hebrew we always write it that way, but in biblical Hebrew you kind of had to know which ones are whose and which ones are he's. But there were cases when it is written, and here it's written that way with a yud. And I mean, as you can see, um, Yud and Vav look very similar, and so there can there is an argument that scribes never really were as careful as they should have been. Ki yare, because he was afraid, um, and the root here is yud resh aleph, which means to fear, yirah, right, or awe. I usually translate it because it can be both um, awesome and awful. Okay. Okay. Le'emor, he yare le'emor, because he was afraid. Le'emor, to say, that's the infinitive. Ishti, she is my wife. The to be is implied there because Hebrew doesn't have a present tense of the verb to be. Pen gets translated as lest, right? So that not. Yaharguni. Um, Usually that would be written with a shuruk, not with a kubutz. But the root is hey resh gimel, which means to kill, not to murder. Um, yeah, in the Ten Commandments it says al tirtzach, right? Do not. Retzach is murder. Hereg is just killing. So it doesn't have that um, connotation of being illegal. But Yaharguni, right? Kill me. Uh, yeah. Anshe Hamakom, the people of that thing. Al Rivka, so preposition of the ayin regarding or account of Rivka. Ki, because Tovat Mar'eh, he. So this is a construct chain of tov, Tova, right? Means is the feminine of beautiful, literally good, right? But good of mar'eh means comes from the root resh aleph hey, which means to see. Mar'eh is how you are seen, appearance. So she was of good appearance. She, yeah, it's a construct chain of the two, and the pronoun is used as the verb to be. Okay, verse 8. Now it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Avimelech, king of the Philistines, looked through a window and saw, and there was Isaac showing, caressing, endearment to Rebekah his wife. Um, when Isaac had been there a long time, Avimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. Chabad, and it came to pass, when he had been there for many days, that Avimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked out of the window, and he saw, and behold, Isaac was jesting with Rebekah, his wife. Um, so Rashi, okay. Vayehi ki orho lo sham hayamim. Interesting way of putting it. Vayishkof Avimelech melech plishtim ba'ad hachalon vayar vehine Yitzchak metzachek et Rivka ishto. Okay. So vayehi ki orhu lo sham hayamim. Interesting way of putting it all. Erech Aleph Resh Chaf means long, right? So were long or were many. Um, for him there the days. I mean, obviously it means he had been there a long time. It's just a kind of strange way of putting it. Sham means there. Hayamim, the days. Yeah, so he was there for a long time. Vayishkov, so to look is usually, I mean, shin kuf hey is not nearly as common as the other ways of saying to see. Let me see how many times it gets used. 22 times. Yeah, in modern Hebrew, mishkafayim are glasses. To overhang, look out, or down. Okay. Avimelech Melech Plishtim. So Avimelech, the king of the Philistines. Ba'ad hachalon. Ba'ad through, yeah. Hachalon. Halon is a window. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times it's used in the Bible. Um, yeah, by Noah is the first time in Genesis 8. It's actually used quite a bit, 31 times, more times than I thought. I'm not sure where the from halal, which means a hole or piercing. Yeah, halon from halal. That makes sense. Vayar, and he saw. Vehine Yitzchak. So he saw Hine, I usually translate as behold. It is an interjection. And there was Yitzchak mesachek et Rivka ishto. So this is a play on his name, right? His name is Isaac, and um, metzachek literally means to cause to laugh. Um, yeah, it's the PL, which is the intensive in the present tense participle. Right? So he was Yitzchak metzachek. He was playing with. He was. Rashi says it's a euphemism, but it is also a pun with the name Isaac. Et Rivka ishto, his wife uh, Rivka. Okay, verse 9. Then Avimelech called Isaac and said, quite obviously, she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister? Isaac said to him, because I said, lest I die on account of her. So Avimelech summoned Isaac and said, she is really your wife. Why did you say she is my sister? Isaac answered him, because I thought I might lose my life on account of her. So Avimelech called Isaac, and he said, behold, she is your wife. So how could you have said she is my sister? And Isaac said to him, because I said, lest I die because of her. Vayikra Avimelech leYitzchak vayomer, ach hine ishtecha hi. ואיך אמרת אחותי היא, ויאמר אליו יצחק, כי אמרתי פן אמות עליה. So, Vayikra called, right? Kara means to call or to read. Avimelech let Yitzchak, he called Isaac. Vayomer, and he said, ach hine. So, I mean, these are interjections. How you want to translate ach and hine. Ach is usually what we say is a lashon miut, a limiting thing. Surely, okay. Only, not here, maybe. Hine, again, I usually translate it as behold. See, it's an interjection. Ishtechahi, she is your wife. So the pronoun is being used as the verb to be. Again, it's written with a vav, as it often is in the Torah. Ve'eich, and how. Eich is a question word. How. Amarta, you said. And we say le'amor is the less intense way of speaking, right, as opposed to daber. Achotihi, she is my sister. Vayomer alav Yitzchak. So Isaac said to him with that's with the aleph alav. Ki amarti, because I said, or I thought I said, pen amut aleha. So the verse previously was saying, maybe I'll be killed. Now it's amut, I will die, right? Mem vav tet, tough, sorry, to die. Aleha with ayin. Yeah. So regarding her, about her, for her. 26:10. And Avimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people might soon have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. Then Avimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. And Avimelech said, what have you done to us? The most prominent of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. Hebrew. Vayomer Avimelech, mazot asita lanu. כמעט שכב אחד העם את אשתך, והבאת עלינו אשם. Okay. ויאמר אבימלך, Avimelech said, Ma, that's in question word, what, right? Mazot, why? Mazot, what is this? Mazot, what is this? Asita, laasot, ayin sin hey, to do or to make. Lanu, what have you done to us, for us? Kimat, so ma'at means a little. Kimat means almost, right? A little too. Kimat. Shachav literally means to lie down. Shin chaf bet, but is often used as a euphemism. Achad ha'am, so one of the people. It's a construct of one and people. Achad ha'am. Et ishtacha. So here, et is actually the preposition, not the direct object marker. I would say they're saying. Let's see. The shachav is usually a verb intransitive, I would say. But if you want it, I can see an argument that it's actually the direct object marker, but really seems to me that it's the preposition et, meaning with. Ishtacha, your wife. Veheveta, so bet above aleph, to come, right? It's in the causative. So you have brought, heveta. Alenu asham, upon us asham. So yeah, guilt and asham is not considered as heavy of a guilt, I think, as the other ones. I think it's kind of, yeah. Yeah, so there is an asham offering, usually translated as trespass offering. This offering seems to have been confined to offenses against God or man that could be estimated and so covered by compensation. The ordinary trespass offering was a ram. Yeah, you can use your thing, but it's kind of like lesser sins, I would say. Trespass. Okay. And the Alenu, obviously, the with an ayin. Okay. Where were we? 11. So Avimelech charged all his people, saying, He who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. That was nice of him. So Avimelech gave orders to all the people, anyone who harms this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. And Avimelech commanded all the people, saying, Whoever touches this man or his wife shall be put to death. Vayetzav Avimelech et kol ha'am le'emor hanogea ba'ish hazeh uv ishto mot yumat. Okay. Vayetzav, again, like I said before, a mitzvah, right, is usually we translate as a commandment. It also means to connect. So some people prefer, they don't like the word commandment I know certain rabbis don't like that as a translation, but yeah. But he commanded, Vayitzav, he commanded. Avimelech et kol ha'am, all of the people, Lamor, saying, Hanogea, so nun gimel ayin, means to touch, um, or reach. Yeah. Nega, um, is to teach. I mean to reach, or to touch. Ba'ish. So they are saying that it is an article there, uh, because in the cantillations, oftentimes it's really hard to know, especially when it's followed by an aleph. But in this man, Ba'ish Hazeh, yeah, it makes sense that it would have the article there. This man, Uv Ishto, or his wife, Mot Yumat. And so this is a common um, type of repetition for emphasis in Semitic languages that oftentimes gets translated as surely. So the repetition, Mot Yumat, will die, right? Die will die, gets usually translated as surely will die, just like in Genesis, the beginning of Genesis. Okay, verse 12. Then Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year hundredfold, and the Lord blessed him. Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold because the Lord blessed him. And Isaac sowed in that land, and he found in that year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. Vayizra Yitzchak ba'aretz hahi, vayimtza ba'shana hahi mea sha'arim, vayivarachehu havaya. So Vayizra, the root is zera, which means seed, right? So he sowed, he put seed in, I guess, the land, right? Vayizra Yitzchak. So Yitzchak sowed um, in the land, right? He in that land actually, right? Vayimtza. So mem tzadik aleph is to find, right? So he found, he reaped. He, I would have probably translated it, and he found, or it was. Ba shana hahi, in that year, right? That specific year, and again, it's written with a vav, oftentimes. Mea sha'arim, and this is where, actually, the neighborhood in Jerusalem, Mea Sha'arim, is named after this. So Mea means 100. Sha'ar is a gate, um, a measure, to calculate. Is that different from Shin Aleph Resh gate? I thought it was. Let me make sure. Sha'ar. Remainder. Yeah. Shin Ayin Resh. Pretty sure means gate. Yeah, gate. So, well, I mean, a shi'ur is a rate or a measure. Okay. But they're, I think they're obviously related. Okay. Sha'arim, mea sha'arim, 100-fold, 100 times, 100 gates. Veyivarchehu Havaya. So again, this is to bless, or Bet Resh Chaf, and so God blessed him. Veyivarchehu. Um, verse 13. The man began to prosper and continued prospering until he became very prosperous. Okay? The man became rich and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. And the man became great and he grew constantly greater until he had grown very great. Vayigdal ha'ish vayelech haloch v'gadel ad ki gadal me'od. Interesting. Okay, so the root gimel daled lamed is to um, grow, or big. Gadol means big, right? Vayigdal, so he grew, prosper. Okay. Ha'ish, the man. Vayelech haloch. So this is again, we talked about the repetition, and this is the repetition of the verb he lamed chaf, which means to walk or to go, holech, right? So so he went, or yeah, he went, he continued to go. Oops, sorry. So vayelech haloch, and he went, surely continued. Vegadel, and he grew, gadel, right? It's the participle, yeah, of the kal, vegadel, and he grew. Ad ki gadal meod. So ad ki, until, so that, yeah, gadel, this gadal, sorry. So he, that's the perfect, it's the completed action. So until he grew a lot, until he was very big. Okay. Um, so you can see the repetition in the Hebrew. For he had possession of flocks and possessions of herds and a great number of servants, so the Philistines envied him. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. And he had possessions of sheep and possessions of cattle and much production, and the Philistines envied him. Vayehi lo mikne son umikne bakar va'avuda rabba. Interesting. Va'avuda rabba. Okay, interesting. Vayekanu oto plishtim. Okay, so Vayehi, and so it was for him lo, so he had mikne. So the root is kuf nun he, which means to acquire or possess, right? And mikne are possessions, and it's in the construct with son. So son, as opposed to bakar, are we usually say are small animals, uh, like sheep and goats, whereas bakar would be more like cattle. So okay. Um, so mikne tson and mikne bakar. So small animals, big animals. Um, Now this is interesting. Avuda. So Ein bet dalid means to serve or to work, or yeah, even worship. But an eved is a slave. And avuda, although I would have expected it to be written with a shuruk, it's written with a with a kubutz, va'avuda rabbah, and avuda. I guess you would say it's a weird way of putting it. It's service. Yeah, it's also used in Job 1:3, and it's also with a kubutz there. Um, Noun feminine service on formation. See log BN 151. I have no idea what that is. Um, of household servants as a body. Passive participle of avad. Yeah, it's kind of like I would almost want to translate it as service. Avodah rabbah, lots of service. I can understand translating it as many servants, but it's a strange way of putting it. It really is. Um, V'yikan uoto plishtim, and kina kuf nun aleph is to be jealous, envy, I guess. Says that God is a jealous God. Uh, 32 times. Yeah, of God in Ezekiel 39 and Zechariah 1:14. Vayomer Elai Hamalach Adover Bi Kara Lemor Ko Amar Havayat Tzvakot Kineti, right? I am zealous. Le Yerushalayim Letzion Kina Gedola, much zeal. Yep. Okay. Keep on going. 25. I mean 15. Now the Philistines had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, and they filled them with earth. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filling them with earth. And all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, the Philistines stopped them up and filled them with earth. V'chol habe'erot asher chafru avdei aviv beyamei Avraham aviv sitmum plishtim v'yemalum afar. Okay. So, Hol HaBe'erot would have expected a Vav there, but Be'er is a well used a lot. Bet Aleph Resh. Asher Chafru. So, Het He Resh means to dig. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Chafru. Avdei Aviv. So the servants or slaves of his wife. His father. His father. Beyamei Avraham Aviv. In the days of Abraham, his father. There's a repetition there. Sitmum. So, Samech Taf Mem means to close. Right? Satum, something that is Satum is closed up. Right? So they closed them up. Sitmum, so sitmu means they closed. Sitmum means they closed them. Is bear masculine? Bear is feminine. Okay. Sitmuna would be the feminine. I'm not sure how the feminine of that would be. Pilishtim, the Philistines. Veyimalum, so mem lamed aleph means to fill, right? So and they filled them afar. So there's two words, efer and afar, ayin pe resh and aleph pe resh. Ayin pe resh means land or dust, and aleph pe resh, I believe, um means what you call it, ashes. Ashes. There we go. If I can find it with an olive. Come on. Ashes, ashes, ashes. Okay, I'm not gonna go through. We're still in ions. It would take me forever. But I'm pretty sure um, Aleph Pei Resh is. Well, we could do this. Aleph Resh, I believe is ashes. To become gray, ashtray. So, pretty sure that's right. Okay. In modern Hebrew, apparently it means to put on makeup. Okay. With an olive. Okay. Vayomer, sorry, 16. And Avimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." Then Avimelech said to Isaac, "Move away from us, you have become too powerful for us." And Avimelech um, said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you have become much stronger than we." Vayomer Avimelech el Yitzchak, Lech me'imenu, imanu, sorry. Ki atzamta mimenu me'od. So Vayomer Avimelech, he said, El with Aleph, Yitzchak. Lech is the command form of to go. So Lech me'imanu, from with us, right? Yeah, me'imanu, from with us. He, because atzamta, so ein tzadik mem etzem means essence or strength, I guess is, yeah. So atzamta, you strengthened. We say chazak ve'amatz, um, be strong and mighty. So atzamta used quite a few times actually in the Bible. 20 times. Yeah. So you mighty mimenu meod, from us, um, than us, from us. I guess I could see either way. Atzamta mimenu meod. Um, yeah. Okay. Verse 17. Then Isaac departed there, and he and pitched or camped his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. So Isaac moved away from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar, where he settled. And Isaac went away from there, and he encamped in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. Interesting. Um, so Vayelech Misham. So he went from there. Vayelech Misham. Pretty simple. Yitzchak. Vayichan. Right. So a camp is called a machane. Um, hachana. Yeah, I mean to pitch a tent, to decline, bend down, or encamp. Yeah, a tachana is a stop, um, like on a bus in modern Hebrew. A bus stop is called a tachana. Um, and it's. I mean, there part of this is the alliteration. This is poetic text. So, Vayichan Yitzchak Yachan Nahal, all of them using the het there, right? So there is a poetry there in the word usage. Ben Nahal Grar, in so Nahal, I think means literally river. Um, Torrent, wadi, uh, Hebrew stream, rare. Um, yeah. Sabaean, proper name of a location. Yeah. Okay. Um, Nahalgrar, and Rashi says, because we had previously that said that he was living, right? Um, so why in Grar? So why? So Rashi seems to be saying that Nahalgrar is away from the city because earlier it said he was living in Grar, or towards Grar. Vayeshev Sham, and he um, Yeshev again to settle, to dwell, to live. Right? So he lived there. Okay, verse 18. And Isaac dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names which his father had called them. Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the time of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died, and he gave them the same names his father had given them. Okay? And Isaac again dug the wells of water which had they had dug in the days of his father Abraham, and the Philistines had stopped them up after Abraham's death, and he gave them names like the names that his father had given them. Mm. Vayashav Yitzchak vayahpor et be'erot hamayim asher chafru b'yamei Avraham aviv v'yisatmum plishtim acharei mot Avraham ויקרא להם שמות כשמות, interesting, אשר קרא להם אביו. So the words are, we've had all of these words before. Um, he vayashav, so this is lashuv, shin vav bet, to return. They're saying, yeah. Again, the 2-letter, 3-letter root thing there with Yashav, Yitzchak Vayachpor, right? And he dug. Chisaron is normal there. Et Be'erot, right? The wells, kind of expected above there, but okay. Yeah, kind of expected that above there. Be'erot Hamayim, wells of water. It's in a construct with water, and that's why you only see the hay at the last term of the construct chain. Asher chafru beyamei Avraham, which were dug in the days of, which they dug in the days of Avraham. Aviv, his father, v'yisatamum plishtim, and the plishtim closed them. Acharei mot Avraham, after Abraham died. Vayikra lahem shamot kashamot, and he called them names like the names. Um, and the second Shemot doesn't have a vav. Asher kara lahem aviv, which his father called them. Yeah, so simple words. I mean, this is a very repetitive text, um, which is poetic in nature in the Hebrew. Okay. Verse 19. Also, Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of running water there. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. And Isaac's servants dug in the valley and they found there a well of living waters. Vayachparu avdei Yitzchak banahal vayinseu sham be'er mayim hayim. So we've had pretty much every word here. They dug, the servants of Isaac, it's in the construct, banachal, in the valley, or yeah, nachal can also mean river. Vayimtsa'u, and was found, right? Well, matzah, sham, there, be'er mayim chayim. So this is one construct chain. Be'er, meaning well, mayim, meaning water, and chayim, literally meaning living. So whether you want to translate that as living or not is certainly up to you. I was actually listening to a podcast in a similar vein, and he was translating it as fresh water. Yeah, that's what it means. When we say living water, we mean moving fresh water, as opposed to still water. So, Chaim in Hebrew means to move. 20. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Eshek, literally quarrel, because they quarreled with him. Okay. But the herders of Gerar quarreled with those of Isaac and said, "The water is ours." So he named the well Eshek, meaning dispute, because they disputed with him. And the shepherds of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's shepherds, saying, "The water is ours." So he named the well Eshek, because they had contended with him. So Vayarivu, Ro'e Gerar im Ro'e Yitzchak le'emor lanu hamayim veikra shem habe'er o Eshek Esek. Yeah, that's Esek. He hit asku imo. So why did they say? Well, I kind of expected it to be a shin, so I was saying Eshek. It's Esek. Okay. So Vayarivu, so Riv, Rish, Yud, Bet could be a three-letter root, meaning to contend or strive. I also think that you could say that actually it's this is a two-letter root being of many, and it's hefil. It's causing to divide. So that's speculative on my part, and don't take it to the bank. But Vayarivu, so a reeve does mean contention or quarrel. Yeah. Ro'e Grar, so A ro'eh is a shepherd, or yeah, it's a shepherd. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It is used in many, many places. Like Hashem Roi, God is my shepherd. I shall not want. So the herdsmen, the shepherds of Gerar, im roe Yitzchak, with the shepherds or herdsmen of Yitzchak, le'emor, saying, lanu hamayim, ours the water is. There's no present tense of the verb to be. Veikra Shem haber, and he called the name of the well Esek, Ein Sin Kuf, Ki Hitasku Imo, because it's in the reflexive, right? And I'm not sure how many times. It's the only time that this root shows up. Perhaps it will originally cling to in strife. Compare Arabic cling with love. Syriac. It's pa'el, be difficult, indignant, hostile. Late Hebrew, ein samech kuf, busy oneself. And yeah, there is that whole thing of whether. So they're saying actually there's the root eshek, which means to oppress or wrong. So this gets into the whole, is sin like shin or is sin like samech thing. Yeah. It's a rare stem, that's for sure. Okay. Next verse. They dug another well and they quarreled over that one also. So he called it sitna, literally enmity. They dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it sitna, means opposition. Okay. Guessing it's with a yeah, it is. So, and they dug another well and they quarreled about it also, so he named it Sitna. So vayachparu be'er acheret vayarivu gam aleha veikra shema Sitna. So vayachparu, and they dug be'er acheret, another one. Acher means other. Acheret is feminine. So another well, Vayarivu Gamaleha, and they also fought, quarreled, multiplied, conflicted regarding that one. Preposition with ayin. Vayikra Shema, and he called her name, bear being feminine. So Shema, her name, Sitna. And the root here is Satan, Satan, sin nun, tet nun. So, yeah. So, yeah. Same root, Satan. Okay, 21. 22, sorry. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called its name Rehovot, literally spaciousness, because he said, for now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. He moved on from there and dug another well, and no one quarreled over it. He named it Rehovot, means room, okay, saying, now the Lord has given us room and we flourish in the land. And he moved away from there and he dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he named it Rehovot. And he said, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." V'ya'atek misham, v'yachpor ber acheret, v'lo rabu aleha, v'yikra shema Rehovot, v'yomer ki ata hirchiv havaya lanu ufarinu ba'aretz. So etek, I think it means to move, pull up, to move, proceed, or advance. Ein taf kuf, used 9 times in the Bible. Misham, from there. V'yachbar ber acher, and he dug another well. V'lo ravu, and they did not quarrel. So they're saying this is Reeve again, in the Pal. So Resh Yud Bet in the Pal is Ravu. Yeah, I guess. Past tense is Ravu. Yeah, that's what it would be. Yeah, okay. Aleha, regarding its prepositional dayan. Veikra Shema, and he called her name because it's feminine. Rechovot. So Resh Het Bet Rahav, right? Can mean street. It means wide, right? Like Rahab, her name was wide for certain reasons. And it's missing the first vav. Yeah. So yeah, Rehovot, meaning wideness, spaciousness. Yeah. Vayomer, and he said, Ki ata, because ata. So et means a time, ata means right now, this time. Hirchiv, so he's using the same root, resh het bet. It's in the causative here, hirchiv, havaya. So God made room, spaciousness, and I actually have a video where I talk about the difference between wide and narrow, Mitzrayim and Israel, right? It's a common juxtaposition in the Hebrew, in the Bible. Hirchiv havaya lanu ufarinu ba'aretz, and so pru pei resh or pei resh hey perish hey means to be fruitful. Yeah, it's perish hey. So parinu, we are fruitful, we multiplied. Ba'aretz, in the land. Yeah. Okay. Next verse. Then he went up from there to Beersheba. From there he went up to Beersheba. And he went up from there to Beersheba. Vaya'al misham Beersheba. So the root is Ein Lamed Hey, which means to go up. And like I said before, you always go up towards Jerusalem. You always go up towards the land of Israel. You always go down towards other places or towards Egypt. So, and he went up from there. He rose from there. Misham. Beersheba. Well, there's no two there, but it's implied. Beersheba. And yeah. Okay. Verse 24. And the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for my servant Abraham's sake. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. And the Lord appeared to him on that night and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and I will bless you and multiply your seed for the sake of Abraham my servant. Vayar elav Havaya ba'laila hahu vayomer, and he said, Anochi Elokei Avraham Avicha al tira ki itcha anochi uverachticha vehirbeti et zaracha ba'avur Avraham avdi. So vayera. So this is the nifal. It's the passive. Caused him. Well, no, not caused. Was seen. Appeared. Elav with aleph. Havaya, the tetragrammaton, Ba'laila hahu, in that night, that particular night. Ba'laila hahu. Vayomer, and he said, Anochi, so this is the more formal way of saying I, which we often say refers to God. Elokei Avraham, the father of Abraham. So this is the Shem Elokut with in the construct form with Abraham. Avicha, your father. Al tira, do not be afraid, do not be in awe. So yeah. Yud Resh Aleph is the root there. Ki itcha anochi, because I am with you. So itcha is how we say with you. It's the preposition as opposed to otcha, which is would be the direct object. Anochi, so the pronoun is being used as the verb to be. Uverachticha, so and I will bless you. Right? It's the vav is flipping the tense. Vehirbeti, so I will cause to multiply. Right? It's in the hefil. It's in the causative of rabah, multiply or be many. Et zaracha, the seed, ba'avur Avraham avdi. So for the sake, ba'avur, right? Avraham avdi, Abraham, my servant or my slave. Okay. Verse 25. So he built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord, and he pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants dug a well. Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. And he built an altar there, and he called in the name of the Lord, and he pitched his tent there, and Isaac's servants dug a well there. Vayiven sham mizbeach, vayikra b'shem Havaya, vayet sham ohalo, vayichru, sham avdei Yitzhak be'er. Interesting. Okay. So vayiven, so boneh means to build. Yeah. So they built. So he built. Sorry. Sham there mizbeach. So mizbeach comes from the root zayin bet het, which means to slaughter or butcher, right? So a mizbeach is an altar. Vaykrash b'shem Havaya, and he called in the name of God, b'shem Havaya. Vayet sham ohalo. So this verb is used nata, I believe it is, nun tet hey, and it's lost two of its letters, which is kind of rare. Um, but they're weak letters. That's why they kind of ran out on him. So netiat ohel is a common way of saying to pitch a tent. So he pitched a tent, his tent there. Sham ohalo, um his tent. Uh, Veyichru. So this is an interesting verb. um, so the the reason I'm laughing is because Christians in Psalm 22 insists that there is a unique root related to this Chaf Aleph Resh, um, which means to they mean they say it means pierce. Psalm 22:17 is one of these places where we have a lot of fights. This is where this is actually used to dig or pierce. Well, to dig, um, is used 16 times. They'll say 17. Uh, yeah. To kara means to cut. So similar to karet is spiritual excision, right? And they want to say that there's a chaf aleph resh. Not gonna do it now. If you look at my Psalm 22 video, it's there. Okay. But yeah, Doug Vayichru. Um, Sham of they're the servants or slaves of Yitzchak, Be'er, a well. 26. Why is it? Okay. Then Avimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzat, one of his friends, and Pichol, the commander of his army. Meanwhile, Avimelech had come to him from Gerar with Ahuzat, his personal advisor, and Pichol, the commander of his forces. We're pretty close. Okay. And Avimelech went to him from Gerar, and a group of his companions and Pichol, his general. So, yeah, there's all of these Rashis regarding the word Ahuzat. Um, so they have it as Ahuzat is a name, whereas Rashi is actually translating it as a word. Okay, so Vavimelech and Avimelech, halach, he walked, went, alav, with the olive, migrar, from Gerar, va'achuzat mere'ehu ufichol sar tzava'o. So, and Ahuzat Mere'ehu. So, either Ahuzat is a proper name, Mere'ehu from his advisors, Mere'ehu, yeah, from his advisors, or even, I guess, shepherds, Re'ehu. Merah is a friend or companion, Mere'ehu. In Judges, Shloshim Merehu, Shimshon Lemerehu. That sounds more Lemerecha, Be'etnena Lemerecha. Me'er. Strange formation, origin dubious. Friend or companion. name of bellwether among Syrian nomads, and derived from Re'i, properly, closely joined. Hmm. Mere'ehu. Let's do the Rashis because we're gonna end up having to. Like the Targum renders it, Ve'yisa'at mer. So the Targum Onkelos also translates it as a thing. A group of his friends, Ohavav, V'yesh potrin mere'ehu mem miyasod hateva. So yeah, he's talking about whether or not that mem is part of the actual root of the word or not, right? And he brings Judges 14:11, Meraim of Samson. However, it is not polite to speak of royalty in this manner of his group because that would imply that he brought his entire group of companions and that he had only one group of companions. Therefore, it should be interpreted in the previous manner that Achuzat is not a construct, and do not be puzzled about the letter Tav of Achuzat. Okay, so he's saying it's not a construct. Although the word is not in the construct state, there are similar cases in scripture, or like in Psalm 60, Ezrat, the Shohrat, in Isaiah 51. I think everybody agrees this is a weird way of saying it. Um, I'm not sure it really matters that much, but va'achuzat merehu, no thank you, is, I mean, I see the controversy, I see the various ways of doing it. I'm not sure it matters enough for me to bother too much thinking about it. Um, so either achuzat merehu, what that means, whether achuzat is the name of a person or not. Rashi and the Targum Onkelos seem to both translate it as some of his advisors. Ufichol, and I think everybody agrees Fichol is a name. Sar Tzava'o. So Sar is oftentimes translated as a prince or a chief. Tzava'o, his army. Tzava is often translated as host in the archaic form. Okay, 27. And Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you? Isaac asked them, why have you come to me, since you were hostile to me and sent me away? And Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, since you hate me and you sent me away from you? Vayomer alehem Yitzchak, Madua batem elai, va'atem snetem oti, va'tishalchoni meitchem. Okay. So Vayomer, and he said, alehem with the aleph to them, Yitzchak. Madua is an interrogatory why, right? Madua. And I do think that it comes from da'at, right? To know. Batem, have you come? Batem, lavo, bet vav aleph. Elai with aleph. Ve'atem snetem, and you hate me. So sin nun aleph is usually translated as hate. actually had a rabbi who preferred to translate it as separate, um, related to shoneh, which means um, to be different. Um, ot, so the direct object marker, me. Vital vatil shalhoni. So the root is shin lamed het, which means to send, like stretching out your hand in Genesis, right? Shalach or shliach is also an agent. Me'itchem. Um, so they're saying the direct object marker. I don't believe that that is the direct object marker. That's I think that's the preposition with me'itchem, from being with you. I think so. I'm pretty sure. But they're saying it's direct object marker. That doesn't seem right to me. Okay, next verse. 28. But they said, we have certainly seen that the Lord is with you. So we said, let there now be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant treaty with you. They answered, we saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said, there ought to be a sworn agreement between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you. And they said, we have seen that the Lord was with you. So we said, let there now be an oath between us, between ourselves and you, and let us form a covenant with you. Veyomru ra'u ra'inu ki haya havaya imach vanomer, sorry, tehi na Allah beinotenu, beinenu uvencha venichreta brit imach. Now, Vayomru, and they said, Ra'u Ra'inu. Ra'o Ra'inu. So this is the surely thing of the repetition in the Hebrew, right? We we surely saw, right? Ki haya havaya imach. That God was with you. And there is that kind of um, conjugation of the tetragrammaton there, right? Haya havaya. Imach, with you, and the reason why it's imach, the feminine, is likely because of the cantillation marks. Um, and what you want to do with that masculine being flipped to the feminine because of the cantillation marks is completely up to you. And it happens at the end again, which at the end it's very common because that's the way the cancellation is. Imcha, you often gets switched to imach. So vanomar, and we said, tehi na. So na is oftentimes translated as now. I usually translate it as please. It's an interjection. So there should be now or please or yes. I mean, tehi is a command. They're calling it jusiv. Yeah, it should be Allah. So Allah is a more rare way of talking about an oath. How many times does it show up in the Bible? 36 times, which other ways of saying oaths are much, much more um, common. Can also, yeah, curse. Uh, you can use your concordance there if you want. It is, I mean, it's a curious way. I understand why they're translating it as a treaty. Beinotenu, between us, beinenu uveinecha. So beinotenu, between us, beinotenu, between us, beinenu, between us, right? Uveincha, and between you, right? Beini uveincha is it's a common way of talking about it. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's very clear that this is a poetic text with much repetition and alliteration. Um, but also this isn't such a weird way of talking. Bane, 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 using all the banes. Venichreta. So again, that root chaf resh taf, to cut, right? Chaf resh hey, to cut, and should be cut or made a covenant, brit imach, with you. Um, First person collective plural, yeah, common plural. Venichreta, and we will cut. Yeah, the hay is what makes it cohortive. Okay, 29. That you will do us no harm, since we have not touched you, and since we have done nothing to you but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. That you will do us no harm, just as we did not harm you, but always treated you well and sent you away peacefully, and now you are blessed by the Lord. Um, and they said, we have seen that the Lord was with you, and so we said, let there now be an oath between us, and between ourselves and you, and let us form a covenant. I just read that. Sorry, getting late. If you do not harm us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done with you only good, and we sent you away in peace, so do you now, blessed of the Lord. Did I read the correct one? I hope I read the correct one. If I didn't, sorry, you read it yourself. Okay, we're on 29. Im ta'aseh imanu ra'a ka'asher lo neganucha וכאשר עשינו עמך רק טוב ונשלחך בשלום, אתה baruch havaya. Interesting. Okay. One thing I will say quite clearly: this is a poetic text. It seems to me it's repeating a lot of words from earlier. So im, usually I translate it as if. It is a conjunction, hypothetical particle, imperfect interrogative particle. Yeah, usually translated as if. That, okay. Ta'aseh imanu ra'a. Um, Ta'aseh imanu ra'a. Do evil with us. Ra'a means evil, right? Make evil with us. Be unkind to us. Ka'asher lo naganucha. Yeah, so they're reading that no into it, which makes sense because of the aim of the if, right? That we did not touch you, nega, right? Because we had earlier, do not touch him and his wife, right? Um, we did not touch you, right? That ka'asher, since that, because we did not touch you, v'chasher asinu imcha rak tov, that we only did good things with you. I guess they're not talking about the the quarrels. Um, Rock means just, only. Um, Uneshalchecha b'shalom. Um, and we sent you, again, this is shalach, right? Like outstretching your hand, or God sent Adam and Eve from the garden, right? Um, Sent you in peace, uh, with shalom, with peace, with shalom. Right? Ata. So the first one is the pronoun you, and it is kind of being used as a substitute for the verb to be. Ata means now, right? Et means, this is with the ayin. Um, Et means time. Ata means this time, right now. Okay. Baruch ata ata baruch havaya. Baruch literally means blessed, right? Baruch havaya, the blessed of God. It's in a construct form. Baruch havaya. So now you are the blessed of God. Um, yeah, I mean, it's kind of poetic. The meaning is simple. Um, the usage of the words kind of isn't. Verse 30. So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Isaac then made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. So he made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. V'ya'as lahem mishteh, v'yachlu v'yishtu. So vayas, and he made, right, lahem, for them. Mishteh is literally a party with drinks, right? It comes from the word shoteh, shin taf hey, which means to drink, right? So mishteh is a party, a feast, right? Vayochlu, and they ate. The root as aleph chaf lamed, to consume, to eat. Vayishtu, and they drank. Same root as mishteh, right? They drank. 31. Then they arose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another, and Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Early the next morning, the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they went away peacefully. And they arose early in the morning, and they swore one to the other, and Isaac escorted them, and they went away from him in peace. Vayishkimu baboker, vayishavu ish la'achiv, vayishalchem Yitzchak, vayelchu me'ito bashalom. So, this word lahashkim, to is a strange word. I mean, it's used a lot actually to get up early in the morning. But yeah, so the root shin chaf mem literally means shoulder. Shechem is, yeah, comes. They say comes from shoulder. Yeah, from shoulder, right? But vayashkimu, it's the hefel. It's used a lot actually. So, and they got up in the morning, right? Boker, in the morning. Boker comes from greeting, uh, in the morning. Veyishavu ish la'achiv. So, and a man, and they swore man to his brother, or another, but literally brother, lachiv, to his brother. V'yishalchum Yitzchak, and so Isaac sent them, again, shalach. V'yalchu me'ito, and they went from near him, Again, I don't know why it's saying direct object marker meito is from with him, from near him. It's the preposition. Be shalom, um, with in peace, with peace. 32. It came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." That day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, "We have found water." And it came to pass on that day that Isaac's servants came to him and told him about the well that they had dug, and they said to him, "We have found water." Vayehi beyom hahu bayom hahu vayavou vayavu avdei Yitzhak vayagidu lo al odot habe'er asher chafaru vayomru lo matzanu mayim. And it was on that particular day, bayom hahu, on that particular day, vayavu, and they came, of day Yitzchak, the servants or slaves of Isaac, veyagidu, this is the hefil, lahagid, it means to relate, or reach, and there should be a yud there, but there isn't. Lo, to him, al odot. So al odot, I mean, regarding. It's something that's used a lot. Al odot. Ha be'er, the well, asher chafaru, which they dug. Vayomru lo, and they said, matzanu, matzah, to find. We've had several times. Mayim, we found water. So he called it Sheva, oath or seven, and therefore the name of the city is Beersheba, well of the oath or well of the seven, to this day. He called it Shiva, means oath or seven, and to this day the name of the town has been Beersheba, meaning well of the oath and well of the seven. And he named it Shiva, therefore the name is named Beersheba until this very day. Shem Habrit. Yeah, so he's saying that it's oath, not seven here, which makes sense to me. Vayikra otah Shiva al ken Shem Ha'ir Be'er Sheva al Hayom ad Hayom Hazeh. And there's a Beersheba right now, large city in Israel. So Vayikra Otah, and he called her, right? The Be'er is Otah, right? Her, because that's feminine. Shiva, right? Al Ken, therefore, Shem Ha'ir, the city is called Beersheba. Yeah, the well of swearing, I guess, is really ad Hayom Hazeh, to this very day. And there is a setuma, there's a closed break, which is more kind of like a paragraph in the scroll. Okay. 34. When Esav was 40 years old, he took as wives Judith, the daughter of Be'eri the Hittite, and Basemat, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. When Esav was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Be'eri the Hittite, and also Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And Esav was 40 years old, and he married Judith, the daughter of Be'eri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. ויהי עשיו בן 40 שנה, ויקח אישה, את יהודית בת בארי החיתי, ואת בסמת, בת אלון החיתי. So it was Esav ben Arbaim, so literally the son of 40 years, but 40 years old. That's how you say it. Veikach, so, and he took, right? This is to take a wife, to get married is in Hebrew literally to take a wife. Veikach isha. Et Yehudit bat Be'eri, Judith, Yehudit, the daughter of Be'eri, Ha-Hiti, the Hittite, Vet Basmat, and Basmat, right, is apparently her name, Basmat. Interesting. But Elon Ha-Hiti, the son of Elon, the Hittite. 35. This is the last verse. And they were a grief of a mind to Isaac and Rebekah. So, doesn't sound good. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. And they were a vexation of the spirit to Isaac and to Rebekah. Vatihiena morat ruach leYitzchak ule Rivka. And there's another setuma closed break there, which explains why they put the chapter break there. And Tihiena, so this is the third person feminine plural of the imperfect, which doesn't exist in modern Hebrew, and so it's kind of, it seems very strange, but that's how Tihiena, and this is the daughters, this is the wives, this is the females. Morat ruach. So let's say that comes from mara, which means bitterness. Yeah, bitterness, marar. I'm surprised they say it only occurs once. No, marar, yeah, so bitterness, actually several times, 13 times. So I don't know why they split that one. I guess because it's a hey at the end. So bitterness of ruach, literally spirit, to Isaac and to Rivka. Let's see what Rashi said. Morat ruach, an expression of defiance of the spirit. Hamarat ruach. Deuteronomy 9:24. Mamrim. All their deeds provoked grief, from Targum Onkelos. Interesting. And Rashi says because they were idolaters. From Midrash Tanchuma. Yeah. So he's saying it's from Mamrim, rebellious. Let me see, Deuteronomy 9:24. Mamrim Hayitem. You were rebellious. Interesting. Okay, well, that is Genesis 26. Let us conclude, as we usually do, with Zephaniah 3:9. Ki az epoch el amim safar berura likro chulam b'shem havaya le'ovdo shem echad. Therefore, I will restore to the peoples a pure language, a winnowed language, I like to say. Likro chulam, so that we may all call b'shem havaya, in the name of the Lord, le'ovdo shem echad, to serve him with one shoulder, one accord. I will hang around another 10 minutes or so in case anybody has any questions. Um, Otherwise, good evening.